Thanks for joining us. I'm Chris Barron. I'm Director of Communications for the Employment Security Department. As stated, we're recording this session for later posting. We'll send the link out, and you are also welcome to record. So we're here to answer any questions about the federal government shutdown, the employment security's role in that shutdown, the increasing demand for unemployment, and the 90-day unemployment benefits call center hours pilot, that's a mouthful, regarding the press release we sent today. So I'm joined by Employment Security Commissioner Cami Feek, Chief Labor Economist Anneliese Vance-Sherman, and Insurance Services Director J.R. Richards. They'll be happy to answer your questions. If you have any questions, there is a raise hand button in Teams. If you can't find that, then you you can put a question in chat that you'd like to ask a question, and we'll call on you there. When you come off mute to ask your question, if you could state your name and identify your organization. And as of now, I'll turn it over to Commissioner Cami Feek for a brief opening statement and then answer your questions. Thanks for joining us. Cami?
Excellent. Thanks, Chris. And thank you, everyone, for joining us today. As we noted in our October 16th press release, we continue to see an increase in demand for unemployment benefits, which is why we're updating our call center hours and starting a 90-day pilot. Our number one priority in this is getting people paid as quickly as possible. From the large number of private sector layoffs in 2025 to the federal government shutdown to seasonal workers now applying for benefits to people staying on unemployment longer, we're seeing a growing backlog in our unemployment claims each week. We had to do something within our current resources to help our customers get paid and our staff to more effectively manage the growing workload. We don't have the budget for overtime or additional hiring. We believe the 90-day pilot to adjust our call center hours will move the needle, and we've seen that in other states. Massachusetts is finishing a 90-day pilot they did where they shut down phone lines on Fridays. As a result of that, they've seen a 43% decrease in their claims backlog over just a 2.5-month period. Today, you'll see from our press release and website alerts that we're adjusting our unemployment call center hours starting this week. Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays will have normal hours, so that'll be 8 to 4. And then on Tuesdays and Thursdays, our call center will be open from 8 a.m. to noon. On Tuesdays and Thursday afternoons, we'll have our staff focusing on processing claims and getting people paid more quickly. Finally, last week, we had our first webinar for federal workers and others affected by the federal government shutdown, including some federally funded state employees. We had 489 attend that webinar, and we have another webinar scheduled for this Thursday at 10 a.m. And you can reference our Friday press release for more information about that. JR, who's here today, can give you more specific details and information about that pilot and our unemployment volumes. And Anneliese is here to answer any questions you might have about the state of Washington labor market. And now I'm going to turn it back to you, Chris.
All right, thanks, Cami. Any questions you'd like to ask at this time? If you use the raise your hand feature or in chat, let me know and we can call on you there. All right, Cairo Radio. Go ahead and state your name, and we know your organization, but appreciate it. Thanks.
Yeah, my name is Aaron. You can hear me okay?
We can.
Thanks.
Okay, great. You can or cannot?
We can hear you clearly.
We can hear you.
Okay, very good. Yeah, I'm actually just curious. The news is kind of coming down in the last hour or so of 30,000 potential corporate job cuts at Amazon. And I just wonder, we don't know how many people might be laid off here in Washington State, but you hear a number like that, it's a shocking figure. I just wonder what sort of conversations you all have amidst, these massive layoffs that we keep hearing about seemingly weekly. And now a major employer here in our state is talking about 30,000 job cuts.
I'll start with that, Aaron, and then if JR or Anneliese want to jump in. I would just say routinely and regularly, this is part of our work in providing unemployment to Washington residents. And we both prepare consistently. We always have a peak season in Washington that starts about now. And we have a regular rhythm and routine for preparing for that. And then just as you are all on alert about those potentials for larger employers and layoffs, we're doing the same. We have opportunities for rapid response, which is a way in which we bring together teams to support large employer layoffs, easy for me to say. And those are systems that we can activate quickly. But any large layoff at this point adds a layer to what I just shared about the current condition of the volumes and claims and what we're seeing for unemployment insurance overall. So I think I'll stop there and invite if JR or Anneliese have any additional comment to that question.
Cami, this is JR. You covered everything I was going to say. We track this closely. We prepare for it before it happens. We've got mechanisms that we can deploy to help support folks that are experiencing large-scale layoffs, and we do that.
And I guess I would just add a minor point, just that we do have, one of the functions of employment security is tracking this information, both for internal as well as external use. We publish information as it's available. There is a pause with some of our standard data sets at the moment. However, keep in touch. This is something that we are keeping close track of, both for the people of Washington in general, but also for internal, ensuring that our internal processes are working well.
All right, thanks. Danny Marie?
All right, well, thank you. First and foremost, I appreciate all of you and the incredible work that you guys do, working very diligently to make sure that people are getting paid, especially during these times. I am Danny Marie, a podcaster with a Talk Tacoma local podcast, as well as working on a new podcast for FIFA World Cup, and the fact that that's coming to Seattle in 2026. But I have a unique experience because I used to be an employee with ESD, and I was there during the pandemic. So I guess my question would be, what was one of the things you guys took away from that, and how are you guys now moving forward? And you kind of already answered it, but more directly, there was a lot during that time. And so how did you guys take from that to plan for something like this? And also, there was a time where people who had specific hardships maybe could be prioritized. Is that going to be also the same case? Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. I can take that. We do absolutely still have a hardship process, so that hasn't changed, and a team that work those. There were a lot of lessons learned during the pandemic that has significantly changed how we do our work behind the scenes. So over the last few years, we focused a lot of effort and energy on everything from the resources that are available for our staff to process claims, to how we do training, how we organize the work, how we're communicating and sharing information externally to help claimants navigate the system easier. The result of that work is that we found that we are doing more work. So we are more efficient now than we were pre-pandemic, meaning a staff person can handle more work based on all of the changes that we've done. And that's work that's ongoing. And part of this particular pilot that we're trying is we're also listening to our folks that are closest to the work, like our frontline staff, who were like, what else can we do to be more efficient, to be able to pay folks quicker? And this recommendation that we then looked into and put some data behind it was really something that came from them to say, listen, the big reason that folks call is they want to know, have you made a decision on my claim? When am I going to get paid? And so the same folks that are processing that work are also answering phone calls. And they're like, if you would just give us some dedicated time to process work and not have to switch back and forth, we would reduce the number of calls coming in because we can get that money out the door quicker.
Thanks. Cami or Anneliese, you're good. And then Danny, do you have any follow up with that, or you're good? Okay. All right. Simone, if you could state your name and affiliation, thanks.
Hi, thank you for taking my question. My name is Simone Carter, and I'm with McClatchy Media and the Olympian. My question was also related to the pandemic. I was curious, given the 20% increase in ongoing unemployment claims, that seemed pretty significant, and I was hoping that you might be able to put that in perspective. Like, how does that current rise in unemployment claims compare to levels seen at the start of the pandemic?
I think that is significant, and I don't think it compares in that, like, our unemployment rate and that volume increased at such a rapid rate during the pandemic. It pales compared to the 20%. For perspective, during the pandemic and in 18-month period, we did the equivalent of the prior 18 years worth of claims volume. So that virtually 1 in 3 workers in Washington state simultaneously, for all intensive and practical purposes, became unemployed. What we're seeing today is that as people come onto unemployment, that ongoing rate is staying up. People are having a harder time finding a job, but our overall claims volumes coming in have not increased with the same rate that we saw during the pandemic. And I will open it up if JR wants to add, or Anneliese wants to add to that. It was a much more rapid rise very quickly during the pandemic.
I can add a little bit of context. When we look at the number of claims, it's not one of our most, one of our traditional labor market indicators, but it does give us a signal about economic distress. And just comparing that level of unemployment insurance claims, what we're seeing is something similar to what we saw in about 2015, 2016, when we were coming down from the Great Recession, but before we reached the low points of a very healthy economy in just before the pandemic. So that is one indicator of some economic stress that a lot of job seekers are experiencing. There are some other labor market indicators that we're seeing, just again for painting that context before and after the pandemic, where we're seeing a very steady unemployment rate. It's been in the mid 4% range for a couple of years at this point. So it's been very steady. And overall, we're seeing kind of a slowdown of the total number of jobs being created. So we're kind of reaching a little bit of a doldrums with a lot of the traditional labor market indicators, but claims is one that we have a unique view on and that is showing some rising distress.
All right, JR, anything to add, or you're good? Okay.
Nothing to
Alan,
add.
sorry. Thank you. Alan, sorry I missed you earlier. Go ahead with your question.
Yeah, Alan Lester with Keeper News in Pasco. Basically, to kind of touch on the previous question, obviously it's a 20% increase from last year, but can we talk about just a little bit, what has the increase been seen? I know the numbers probably aren't totally there, but from the start of the shutdown to this point right now.
So just to clarify, the 20% increase that we talk about is ongoing claims. And so what that means is that we're seeing folks who are coming on to unemployment insurance and staying on longer. So it's taking longer for them to find work, to go back. Initial claims, I believe we're sitting at around 8% year over year. So that's new claims. So about 8% higher, which is, still a rise. So just to clarify that. And then since the shutdown, Well, we're seeing the 8% year over year and the 20% higher ongoing has been year to date. So that's been going on since the first of the year. So where we normally see a rise during peak UI claim season, that rise starts to fall off by March. Our claim numbers come down. We didn't really see that this year. It just kind of stayed the same and continuing to see year over year increases. We can share some numbers if that's what you're asking, Alan, about federal claims specifically. While they're a small percentage of the overall population right now, we still are tracking those separately because we want to make sure that we're able to serve that population well. So is that your question? Would you like some numbers there?
Yeah,
Perfect.
that would be fantastic.
Yeah,
Thank you.
so since October 1st, we've received 1,937 registration requests. So that initial claim, that is a significant increase in federal claims year over year, or than what we saw this time last year, but not uncommon with what we would see when there's from the previous federal shutdowns. And I'll pause there in case you have any follow-up questions to that.
No, I'm okay. Thank you.
Thanks. Back to Danny Marie.
Thank you again. So a big part of getting paid is the adjudication process. I know there's a very thin line with revealing to people, okay, you can expect it at this time and date. That's not really fair because we don't know what can happen and transpire. But also it's important to be clear and open so people can adequately prepare themselves. So is there an adjudication standard that we're expecting? I know like when I was there, like 8 weeks, but
Yeah. Yeah. This is one of the more challenging questions because we do want to give our claimants timeframes of what they can expect. Danny Murray, if you worked for us, you know there's a lot of different scenarios that can impact how long you're waiting. So I can share with you some of what we're seeing. So I pulled some numbers this morning. And one, I think it's important to note that not all of our customers or claimants are having really long wait times, but the population that it does impact, it's pretty impactful. So for the last 4 weeks, the average, about 70% of our claimants received their first UI payment within 21 days. So easy path, no questions, they're able to move right through. Where we see the biggest backlog, and when we talk about some of the backlogs we want to focus on, it's for separation issues. So a separation is when you have quit or you have been fired from your job. That type of work requires a deeper level of adjudication. It requires requesting information, often multiple times from both the claimant and the employer, giving time for that to come back, looking at the totality, often needing to gather some more information before a decision can be made. Right now, that population is waiting an average of 59 days. And so really part of this pilot is to free up capacity that will help get folks paid, and that's part of that population.
I do have a follow-up, not necessarily a question, but I guess it is. So can you speak to how valuable work source offices are to the community, to people who still don't have any understanding of like what even to do when they register, when they open their first claim, and how going to a work source office can help with the registration process to avoid maybe some of those hiccups?
Yeah. So our work source offices have staff embedded in them that are called UI ambassadors. They don't adjudicate claims, but what they are really skilled on is helping someone navigate the process. So how do I set up my account? How do I process or how do I file an initial claim? So really helping with that navigation of the services. And so our work source offices are available for that. Additionally, we've invested time over the last few years in other ways. So you'll see YouTube videos or little short videos that are new to help navigate the process. We've made changes, really cool changes to our website to help folks with understanding and navigating there. And then additionally, we have partnered with community-based organizations around the state that have also been trained on how to navigate the UI system, that are really embedded in communities that have higher barriers to really help their folks and their community navigate. So we've looked at a lot of different ways to help support folks coming in to seek our UI services.
In today's press release, you'll see we put some helpful links in there that people can use to apply. Cami, anything to add to that?
I just love the question. And I think that's really reflective of the amount of investment we've made in linking supports in lots of different ways to help as many people get through this process as quickly as possible. And, although we want everyone to be in that 21-day window, we know that that's just not reasonable or possible with the complexities in the UI system. So these are all different ways that we've tried to both help people be more self-sufficient where they can, and then find resources. So please do check out the resources in that press release. And as much as you can amplify those or connect folks to those, we'd be really appreciative.
All right, thanks. Any other questions that we can help answer? If not,
Chris, can I do a final plug for all the folks on here?
That's great.
I always advocate for our customers and claimants. While we're doing everything we can to support, we need their help supporting this too. So checking their online account frequently, reading their correspondence, being responsive, especially for folks that are in that separation category. One of the areas that causes a longer delay is a lack of responsiveness. So I'm always like, check your account, log in regularly, read your correspondence, respond to our requests for information. We want to get you paid as quick as possible.
Thanks, JR. I placed our last few press releases, including the one today, in the chat. You can also find them on our website, ESD.wa.gov. And if you have any follow-ups after this, please send them to media@esd.wa.gov. Excuse me. And we appreciate your time. And we'll one last call for questions. If not, appreciate your time. All right, we'll call it. Thanks all. Have a good day.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you so much.